The royal family has always been known for its polished image, calculated appearances, carefully worded statements, and an unspoken rule that certain truths are never meant to be said out loud. But every so often, that silence is shattered, not by a scandalous book, a revealing interview, or even a leaked tabloid report, but by the last person anyone would expect. This time, it wasn't a royal insider or a rebellious relative. It came from a child. Not just any child, but the daughter of the future queen. Princess Diana's granddaughter. A young girl born into tradition, now making headlines with just 7 words. Camilla never liked my mom. That one innocent sentence, reportedly spoken by Princess Charlotte, sent shockwaves through the media. What began as a quiet remark during a school visit quickly spiraled into a national conversation. It could have easily gone unnoticed, if not for a nearby journalist who overheard it. And just like that, a decades-old wound at the heart of the monarchy was ripped open. But before we continue, we'd love for you to hit the subscribe button if you're enjoying this video. If you just did, we truly appreciate it. Now, let's get back to the main content. Was it just a child's slip-up? A moment of overheard family gossip? Or was it a truth too long buried, now spoken by someone too young to know the weight of it? That single sentence unearthed years of tension rooted in one of the most infamous love triangles in royal history: Charles, Diana, and Camilla. Though the monarchy has tried to move forward with ceremonies and rebranding, Diana's absence continues to loom large. Now her granddaughter may have voiced what many still feel, but no one dares to say. The palace has kept quiet, refusing to comment, but insiders say the reaction behind closed doors has been anything but calm. Kate was reportedly blindsided and furious. William is now being forced to face emotional truths he's tried to shield his children from. And Camilla? She's been thrust back under a spotlight she thought she had left behind. What makes this moment different is that it didn't come from a journalist or critic. It came from the new generation. The royals who aren't afraid to break protocol. The ones who speak without filters or fear. And that, more than anything, may be what truly changes the monarchy. This wasn't just a child speaking out of turn. It was the beginning of something deeper, a generational reckoning, a quiet rebellion wrapped in honesty. A moment when a little girl's voice pierced through decades of silence and might just rewrite the royal story. It started like any ordinary school trip, routine, low-key, and far from the chaos of royal life. Princess Charlotte was attending a youth charity event, visiting an art and history exhibit supported by the Royal Foundation. There was nothing unusual about the day. No flashing cameras, no drama, just another event on the calendar. But by the time she returned home, Buckingham Palace was already in damage control mode. According to several sources close to the event, the now infamous comment slipped out quietly, unscripted, during what should have been a simple moment. A BBC affiliate was gathering ambient audio for a segment on young royals and community work. As Charlotte stood admiring a framed photo of her late grandmother, Princess Diana, she turned to a nearby staff member and said casually, "Camilla never liked my mom." Insiders say she said it with the innocent confidence of a child repeating something they've heard at home many times, something that feels like common knowledge in the family. Everything stopped. A stunned silence swept through the room. Royal aides, journalists, and organizers froze, unsure if they'd just heard what they thought they had. One aide stepped closer, maybe hoping it was just a misunderstanding, but the damage was done. The microphone, still rolling, had picked it up, crystal clear. Within hours, the audio moved up the ranks, from the BBC production team to royal advisors, and eventually to network editors who instantly understood the bombshell they were sitting on. By the next morning, a leaked clip had hit social media. It spread like wildfire. Royal watchers knew the comment's weight immediately. "Charlotte just said what the public has suspected for decades," one viral tweet read. Another said, "Truth from the mouth of a child," Hashtags like #Diana's Legacy, #Charlotte Speaks, and #Camilla Truth shot to the top of trending lists. The palace issued its usual deflection. No comment on private family matters. But that only fueled the frenzy. What shocked people wasn't just the content of the remark, but who said it. For years, critics had accused Camilla of resenting Diana. Journalists, authors, even Diana herself in her haunting 1995 BBC interview. But Charlotte? She wasn't a bitter ex-royal or a tabloid insider. She was William and Kate's beloved daughter, a symbol of the monarchy's future. And her words hit harder than any headline. What made the moment so powerful was the implication. This wasn't just a theory anymore. Camilla's feelings toward Diana may have become part of the family narrative. Maybe it came through bedtime talks, subtle tensions, or unspoken moments in the home. But somehow it reached Charlotte, and she repeated it without fear. Unlike tabloid rumors or rehearsed interviews, Charlotte's words didn't feel staged. They felt real. And that, more than anything, rattled the palace. Royal advisors scrambled to contain the fallout. Some tried to dismiss the comment as childish confusion. Others worked behind the scenes to scrub the audio from internal servers. But once it was out, it was too late. The internet had already claimed it. Within 2 days, millions had heard Charlotte's voice. TV panels dove into the debate. Was it an innocent remark? Something she overheard? Or a subtle sign that William and Kate's children are growing up with a deeper understanding of the royal family's complicated past, and of Camilla's controversial place within it? Public reaction was swift and emotional. Many sympathized with Charlotte, calling her brave and even likening her to Diana herself, someone unafraid to speak the truth, no matter the consequences. Just as Diana once shattered royal silence for honesty's sake, her granddaughter had now done the same. Sources say Kate was overwhelmed when she heard. She's spent years shielding her kids from royal scandals, determined to give them a normal life. But deep down, she knew Charlotte's comment wasn't random. It came from something real, an unspoken legacy passed down, finally said out loud in the most unexpected way. Behind palace walls, the tension was thick. William stayed silent. Camilla, according to insiders, was furious. Charles, caught between his crown and his second wife, remained notably distant. But outside those gates, the public had already taken a side. A single sentence from a child had voiced what the monarchy had long avoided. And just like that, everything shifted. It's been more than 30 years since Princess Diana's tragic passing, but her influence hasn't dimmed. In fact, it's only grown stronger. Not through official tributes or royal ceremonies, but through people's memories, quiet acts of devotion, and most powerfully, through the lives of her grandchildren. Especially one, Princess Charlotte. Though Charlotte never met Diana, the emotional connection between them is impossible to ignore. And after Charlotte's now famous offhand comment, the world was reminded just how deeply Diana's spirit still runs through the House of Windsor. From the beginning, Charlotte was called Diana's Echo, not just for her striking resemblance, the same thoughtful gaze, the same graceful tilt of her head, but for her inner fire. William and Kate have gone out of their way to teach their children that Diana wasn't just a princess from history books. She was a mother, a champion for kindness, a woman who endured unimaginable pain and still found the courage to speak her truth. According to those close to the family, Diana is a regular part of life in their home. Her portraits hang in the halls of Adelaide Cottage. Her name is woven into bedtime stories. On Charlotte's birthdays, they share stories of a grandmother who loved dancing in the rain, adored ballet, and gave hugs that made people cry. To the world, Diana is an icon. To Charlotte, she's family. So it's no wonder that growing up in a household where the past is honored, not buried, Charlotte might absorb more than people expect. She's seen the contrast between how Diana is remembered and how Camilla has been presented. Her remark didn't come out of nowhere. It came from a place shaped by love, loss, and loyalty. For Kate, this has always been sacred ground. She's spent years keeping Diana's memory alive, not only by supporting causes Diana once championed, but through small, meaningful gestures, like fashion choices that nod to Diana's legacy. More than anything, Kate has tried to give her children something Diana never fully had: the freedom to grow up loved, not just duty-bound. That includes letting them speak from the heart. Family insiders say Charlotte has a strong moral compass. She notices everything. She's more observant than most give her credit for. It's easy to imagine her overhearing grown-up conversations about the monarchy's complicated relationships or sensing her mother's unease around certain people. Over time, even a child can begin to piece things together, especially when the narrative being told publicly doesn't always match what's felt at home. Charlotte's words weren't an accident. They were a reflection of a young girl growing up in the long shadow of a grandmother she never knew, but who still shapes her life every single day. These aren't the kinds of truths children are taught. They're the kind they feel. They absorb them from glances, from tone, from tension in the room. And now, they're beginning to voice them. Princess Diana may be gone, but she's anything but forgotten. In just a few quiet words, Charlotte managed to channel her grandmother's warmth, heartbreak, and fierce spirit. That one sentence didn't just stir up old royal wounds. It reignited the legacy of the woman the monarchy has tried, quietly and carefully, to move past for decades. But Diana's presence hasn't faded. If anything, it lingers stronger than ever. And for those who believed the monarchy could outlast her memory, they didn't count on something Diana never had: a grandchild unafraid to say the things others wouldn't. Diana's memory has followed Charles like a shadow, ever since Camilla Parker Bowles returned to public life. Even after Diana's tragic death, Camilla couldn't shake the label of the other woman. Despite polished press coverage, professional portraits, and a carefully curated image, the public never fully welcomed her. Outside the palace walls, resentment simmered, slowly turning into something far deeper. The more Diana was honored, the more that resentment seemed to grow. Because no matter how hard Camilla tried to win public favor, Diana's image only became more untouchable. Camilla's path to the crown was never meant to be direct. It was meant to be managed, controlled. When Charles and Camilla married in 2005, the palace went out of its way to ease public discomfort by stating she would never be called queen. Instead, she would hold the title Princess Consort, a gesture meant to protect Diana's legacy. That promise, however, was later quietly reversed. By the time Queen Elizabeth passed, the message was unmistakable. Camilla would be crowned queen, not consort, not companion, just queen. Many people felt blindsided. Camilla felt validated. But even within the family, tensions were apparent. William remained respectful in public but was reportedly uncomfortable with the decision. Kate held her poise but never gave her public blessing. The public sensed it too, that whatever respect the younger royals showed Camilla, it was measured. As one insider put it bluntly, they tolerate her, that's it. For Camilla, no title could erase the reality. She would never be loved like Diana. Diana wasn't just remembered, she was immortalized. The people never stopped grieving her. And while Diana's legacy remained frozen in time, untouched by scandal or age, Camilla was constantly being measured against it. Sources say Camilla grew visibly frustrated when Diana's name surfaced, during speeches, at events, in media tributes. She reportedly pushed back when Charles wanted his sons to speak at Diana's memorial. She's rumored to have opposed Kate's appointment as Princess of Wales. And behind closed doors, she allegedly scoffed at the re-airing of Diana documentaries, especially those that coincided with major royal milestones. What stung most, insiders say, was how Diana's legacy lives on in the next generation, through William, through Kate, and most vividly, through Charlotte. Every time Camilla looked at Charlotte, she saw echoes of the woman who had shaped the public's heart. Charlotte's poise, her spirit, even her eyes, each served as a quiet reminder that Diana was, and always would be, the monarchy's true queen in the hearts of millions. Camilla may have won the crown, but Diana won something far more powerful: permanence. Camilla was the woman who waited, and won, not by being chosen first, but by simply lasting longer. But longevity doesn't always equal love, and now, a child's voice has made that painfully clear. And now, Diana's granddaughter had spoken. Camilla never liked my mom. Just 7 words, softly said but powerful enough to shake decades of carefully crafted royal narrative. Behind the scenes, Camilla's reaction was said to be explosive. According to palace insiders, she was visibly furious when news of the leak broke. One source described her as trembling with anger, demanding answers from aides about how the situation had spiraled so quickly. But it wasn't the headlines that rattled her most. It was the realization that Diana's presence still lingered. In public sentiment, inside the palace walls, and now, in the hearts of a younger generation. Camilla always knew the uncomfortable truth. She was never meant to be queen. Charlotte's innocent remark had just reminded the world. For years, Kate Middleton embodied royal restraint, graceful, composed, the picture of calm diplomacy even amid backdoor feuds and whispered rivalries. She knew when to stay silent. She knew when to rise above. But every woman has her breaking point. Kate's came not with a scandal, but with the heartfelt words of her daughter. Camilla never liked my mom. A line that echoed around the globe. Insiders say the Duchess was blindsided. She hadn't anticipated this, hadn't rehearsed for it, and never wanted her children to get swept into the emotional aftermath of royal history. But the moment was out, and there was no undoing it. At first, Kate withdrew. Charlotte was pulled from upcoming appearances. Press requests were ignored. 2 of Kate's public engagements were quietly postponed. From the outside, it looked like a quiet pause. But within the palace, tension was boiling over. The next day, Kate reportedly walked into a private meeting with King Charles. No cameras, no aides, just her and her father-in-law, in a room heavy with years of unresolved strain. One senior official described the moment as calm, but razor-sharp. Kate's words were firm, deliberate, and unforgettable. "Don't you dare rewrite my children's story." This wasn't just about Camilla anymore. This was about memory, truth, and the fight to preserve Diana's legacy from being blurred or diluted for the sake of optics. For years, Kate had made sure her children knew who Diana was. Not just the figure in books and headlines, but the woman who loved deeply, struggled silently, and stood tall through heartbreak. And now, she wasn't about to let anyone minimize that influence. Behind closed doors, Palace Communications reportedly drafted a statement for Kate. Something soft, something diplomatic. A suggestion that children sometimes say things they don't fully understand. But Kate declined. She wouldn't apologize for Charlotte's voice. She wouldn't walk back her daughter's honesty. Not for tradition, not for politics, and certainly not to protect Camilla's feelings. Because to Kate, this wasn't a PR issue. It was personal. And this time, she chose truth over silence. Behind the scenes, something shifted. Kate was no longer just the poised, supportive royal waving from the balcony. She had evolved into a protective mother, a quiet force within the monarchy. As one insider put it, she's the only one in the firm who truly carries Diana's legacy. The message couldn't be clearer. Diana's memory wasn't some PR headache. It was personal. It was real. And for Kate, it was sacred. Those close to her say the entire episode left its mark. Kate didn't lash out publicly, but she pulled back with precision. Her public appearances became more selective, her interactions more guarded. Encounters with Camilla became rare. Instead, Kate redirected her energy toward children's mental health, placing greater focus on emotional honesty, open expression, and breaking the royal family's long tradition of silence. Tensions also reportedly grew between Kate and the palace communications team. Once known for carefully curating her public image, she began pushing for tighter control over how her children were portrayed. In one case, she allegedly blocked the release of a photo that featured both Camilla and Charlotte. The reason? It sends the wrong message. Kate never lost her grace in public, but those close to her noticed a quiet resolve just beneath the surface. This wasn't just about an offhand remark. It was about a mother drawing a boundary. Calm but firm, Kate was sending a message to the institution. You can rewrite your history, but you won't rewrite my children's reality. Prince William, for much of his life, has balanced his roles: heir to the throne, devoted husband, loving son. He's long walked a tightrope between his duty to the crown and his loyalty to his mother's memory, to Kate, and to their children. Outwardly, he's maintained composure. Privately, he's been the family's quiet mediator, the one who keeps the peace without stirring the pot. But when Charlotte's innocent words triggered a media firestorm, William's balancing act began to falter. And this time, he made a choice. It wasn't in favor of his father. Insiders say that after Charlotte's comment went public, William didn't explode. He didn't rush to damage control. Instead, he went silent. Not out of fear, but out of strategy. He understood the palace would try to bury the moment, spin it, or suggest it was nothing. He also understood that any attempt to diminish Charlotte's voice could hurt her deeply. So, William stepped back, quietly, deliberately. But in doing so, he sent a powerful message. This time, silence was his form of resistance. Just days after the story broke, the palace arranged a highly publicized family weekend at Balmoral, an apparent display of unity, a chance to reset the narrative in front of the cameras. But William and Kate didn't show up. Their absence wasn't loud, but it was deliberate. The message was simple: we won't pretend to be something we're not. Palace insiders say King Charles was deeply hurt by their decision. He had hoped William would step in, smooth things over, persuade Kate to let go, make peace with Camilla. But what Charles didn't seem to grasp, or chose not to acknowledge, was that William's patience had finally worn thin. Not just with the institution, but with his father's decades-long mission to protect Camilla's reputation at all costs. William had watched the whole transformation, from Camilla the mistress, to the stepmother, to the queen. And while he kept his public comments polite, those closest to him always knew where his loyalty truly lay. He loved his mother. He respected the woman who raised him, and he wasn't about to let her memory be rewritten just because it was more convenient for the monarchy. Now that his own daughter had been pulled into the same cycle of silence and spin, the choice became crystal clear. Charlotte's words, though innocent, hit a nerve that had never really healed. And the idea that she too could be dragged into a world of half-truths, image management, and emotional erasure, it was too much. Sources say William met privately with Charles shortly after. The conversation wasn't warm. Reportedly, William told his father bluntly, "I won't ask her to apologize for telling the truth." Because this wasn't just about Camilla's feelings for Diana. It was about everything the institution had worked so hard to bury: the betrayal, the grief, the cost of staying silent. Kate stood firmly with him. Together, they weren't just protecting their daughter, they were preserving Diana's legacy. They quietly began closing ranks around their children, revising schedules, limiting contact with Camilla, and re-establishing long overdue boundaries. To William, this wasn't rebellion. It was clarity. He wasn't just Diana's son anymore. He was a father. And his duty wasn't just to the crown. It was to the truth, to his family, and to the little girl who unintentionally reminded the world that the past is still very much alive. By defending Charlotte, William didn't just reject his father's silence. He honored his mother, and in doing so, he may have changed the course of the monarchy for good. It was only one sentence, a quiet comment from a child. But those 7 words, "Camilla never liked my mom," carried decades of hurt, betrayal, and silenced pain, the kind that never truly fades. Princess Charlotte didn't accuse, scream, or stir drama. She simply said what she believed to be true, something carefully hidden under layers of protocol, hierarchy, and royal tradition. And that made it all the more powerful, because her innocence pierced the narrative the palace had worked so long to control. For years, Camilla's image had been carefully remade. Mentions of Diana were slowly scrubbed from official speeches. Her legacy quietly moved to the background. The goal was clear: move on, tidy up the past, reframe the story. But that all fell apart with one unfiltered comment from a child. No one saw it coming. Not from a book, not from an interview, but from a young girl who still sees the world in black and white, where right is right, wrong is wrong, and mothers are sacred. In that moment, Charlotte became more than the daughter of a future king. She became a mirror, reflecting not just Diana's legacy, but also the uncomfortable truths the monarchy has long tried to ignore. Her words didn't just challenge Camilla's image. They reopened the debate about whose story the monarchy truly represents, a question the royal family has avoided for years. Kate stood by her. So did William. And together, they sent a message more powerful than any press release. The next generation won't be silenced. Diana once fought to be heard in a system that punished her for speaking out. Charlotte was able to speak freely, because she was raised by people who never forgot. And that's how Diana wins. Not through revenge, not through rebellion, but through a legacy so strong it speaks through the softest voice in the room and changes the monarchy forever.